Here we go again. Today's project's to put new brakes on the Avalanche. We put the winter tires on the other day, and it has to go in for an inspection, and the rotors are just trashed. They're full of rust. We did the brakes on this only 2 years ago. We just got just over 20,000 miles on the last set. I bought the rotors online. I cheaped out just because this truck's got, 290,000 on it now, and we're just trying not to spend a lot of money on it, thinking it's not going to last, but this keeps biting us in the ass. Anyways, I figure this time we'll get the good rotors. We'll go back to AutoZone and get the their Gold Series rotors, and that's exactly what the guy charged me for, is the Gold Series. But according to the part number, that's not what he gave me. So again, I know better. I have all the part numbers written down that I need before I go in the store, but damn it, didn't I leave the list sitting on my desk at work? So here we go. First thing to do is go back to the parts store and get the right parts. He charged me for the good ones, but that's not what I got. Well, let's try this again. We're back from the parts store for the second time. We've got the correct rotors now, with the DG and the part number for Duralast Golds. They're made of high carbon steel, so they say, fully coated for superior rust protection. I'll let you know how that works out in a couple years. Like I say, the ones on there now are only 2 years old, actually about 26 months, but they're junk. They are so rusty, you'll be surprised when you see them. And like I said earlier, I know better. I always write down the part numbers when I go to these places because they get it wrong so often. If you don't know what you need in the part number before you get there, it's a crapshoot whether you're walking out with the right stuff or not. Anyways, we'll get the truck in here, get it up in the air, and get going. Well, we're ready to get the wheel off. We got it up in the air. We're going to get wet doing this too. We had to take the truck to the parts store this morning to swap out those rotors, and now the wheel wells are full of snow and ice, so add a little more fun to the job, I guess. Turn that on high. There we go. The face of this rotor is a bit rusty on the outer edge. The backside is much worse, and the rear rotors are even worse than the front. I'll get them off and I'll show you. So the caliper bolts are 19 mil, and you need a wrench to hold them sometimes, so we'll just get on there anyways to hold the pin. Came right out. Lower one. Careful not to rip the boot there. Everything's getting pretty rusty. Well, we'll need a screwdriver for that. Go. Set that up out of the way where it won't be dangling on the hose. And again, these pads are in pretty good shape, but boy, the rotors aren't. And they're in there tight. We'll just pull the whole bracket off. So caliper mounting bolts are 18. tight. Wow. We'll let that charge right up and give it another whack. Alright, let's give the upper bowl a try. Man, are they tight. That's a lot of rust on those. Huh. Try the power bar, I guess. There we go. Wow. I can't remember what the torque spec is on those, but apparently it's a lot. So the caliper brackets will just pull right off now. We'll take it over to the workbench, get it all cleaned up. And the rotor, well, it's going to slide right off even. That's surprising. Usually it's rusted on. But here's what the inside looks like. Not much surface left. Just full of rust. Well, you can pick up on the camera the snow coming in. It's we're getting some good lake effect here today. But taking a look at this hub face, it's not in bad shape either. We hosed it down with fluid film before we put the rotor on last time. And looks like it's done its job. We will clean it up as best we can before putting the new rotor on and apply some more fluid film to that. One of the things we always pay special attention to is getting these brackets cleaned up the best we can. If you don't, the pads don't slide. And these ones here are frozen in. We've got some serious rust issues here. They don't move. If they don't move, they're going to wear out on you prematurely. So we're going to have to bang these apart, get everything cleaned up, make sure our pins are moving freely, grease everything, and get it back together. I haven't had one this stuck in a while. Just have to use the hammer. Like I said, the pads aren't wore out. There's quite a bit of meat left on them. They would wear out pretty quick being this stuck though, I'm sure. But being that we haven't driven it much all summer, that's what happens when you let them sit. Pull out the hardware. Oh. We'll re-angle you here and get a little better view of what we're doing. So this is the area we're going to pay special attention to. It's what, when you get a little rust under there, it lifts up on your hardware kit, and then it makes those pads seize in and not float back and forth. Once we get that cleaned up, we'll just take a wire wheel to it, knock off the rust, and then we will file it down a little to get the rest of the rust off. We greased under this quite well last time we did it, and it still rusted up considerably. Alright, we'll grab our file. Yeah, this is going to take some time, so I'll bring you back when we're done. So we got the brackets all cleaned up. Next we'll apply some brake grease underneath where the clips will sit. And you don't need a ton of it, you just want to get enough on there that it prevents it from rusting. Which didn't really work that well. We always do this. But boy, these are rusty this time. Whole truck's rusty. We'll pull our pins out. Yeah, that needs a little help too. We'll get that all cleaned up, re-greased, put back in. Wipe it down. I think I'm going to take it over to the wire wheel, get that cleaned up. Well, we got our pins all cleaned up. We just have to re-grease them. You don't need a ton on here, but you want them well coated. And that's what you want. Move them back and forth nice and easy. That way your bracket will slide back and forth as you apply the brakes and as your pads wear. Alright, we'll flip this around and do the other side there. So I've got the pads in the bracket here, and they're not sliding the way they should, and it took me a second to figure out what's going on. But what it is, it's this rust right along here. It's hitting the bottom of the, or the edge of the brake pad. So I'm going to have to clean all that up. Knock all those high spots off too. That's something new. Haven't had that before. So we knocked all the rust off this, and then we just hosed it down with some fluid film. I use this a lot. Helps keep the rust away. So we'll just let that sit for a couple minutes, soak in a bit. We're going to go over and clean our hub face now and get ready to put the rotor on. So we're just going to spend a couple minutes knocking the rust off the hub face here. Huh. Yeah, the truck's in four-wheel drive. That's locked in. I can't spin it. Forgot about that. We did get to try out the four-wheel drive and the auto and the anti-lock brakes even today on the way to the parts store. All that's still working. I am surprised at how little rust is on this hub face. Usually it's pretty rusty, and a lot of times the rotor just sticks right on there if you can't get it off. But like I said, I hosed it down with fluid film last time, a couple of years ago, and apparently it's doing its job. So this is about the cleanest, cleanest I've ever seen. I think the last time we did a brake job, or time before the last one, we used anti-seize on there, and it did the job well too, kept the rust off. But boy, I've had rotors that just don't come off if you don't put something underneath them, that's for sure. Alright, fluid film again. Now we just have to clean up the caliper where the pads sit on both sides. I'll do that with the wire brush as well, and we'll be ready to put the rotor on. So we cleaned up the rust a bit. Next we're just going to push the pistons back in. Just use the old brake pad and the C-clamp to do that. make sure they go in smooth and easy. And then this one's got a little air trapped in it. So we'll just get a little pick or something and bleed the air out of that. So just stick a little screwdriver up underneath, very gingerly, and just, yeah, the air will pop right out. So we're good now. Let's get a little grease on this brake caliper, and then we'll go unbox those rotors. Just where the brake pad touches. A little grease will help to keep things from rusting and keep them a little quiet. And again, you don't need a ton, you just want to put a nice coating on. And a little bit on the back side of these ears here, where the other pad runs. You could just put the grease on the back of the pads too if you wanted to, but this is all you need. Okay, that's all there is to that. Let's get those rotors unboxed. Alright, so these are the Duralast Gold coated rotors. And they certainly are coated. I'll be very interested to see how long these last. And there is a break-in procedure for these too. Have to get the glasses on to read that. But they do look different, they do look coated. Alright, let's see what it says. The Z-clad coating will be removed by the friction pad material when the brakes are applied. The Z-clad residue will not adhere to your brake pads. The non-braking surface will remain protected after the break-in process. Limited noise is possible during the break-in procedure. And just has a before and after picture there. And so this coating, I guess, will just wear right off. Alright. The set screw that holds this on, last time we did the brakes, I couldn't get it out. So we ended up drilling it out so we don't have one to hold it on. So we'll just throw this on, throw a lug nut on it to hold it in place. There, we'll just put that on there to hold it while we put the brackets and stuff back on. Now we're ready to put the caliper bracket on. Torque on this is really high. Calls for 148 foot-pounds. That's a lot. Oh, our light's running out of juice. We'll go plug that light in again, and then we'll torque these down. So we got our torque wrench set. We'll give this a shot. That's pretty tight, I'll tell you. The bolts are getting rusty. Wow, that's tight. I'm going to give that a tap on with a socket or a hammer. You know what I mean. Tap the socket on with a hammer. There we go. And yes, we did put a little Loctite on those. We're getting ready for the pads now, and there are two different pads. They have a little different shape to the back of them. This one will be the inside pad. Peel the paper off. The inside one's the one with the chirper on it. Okay, fits in like so. Peel the paper off the other one. And slide it in. And you see how they move freely? That's what you want. You don't want them to be stuck in there, or they will wear out. Set the caliper back on. Slide the pins in. We might have to push that pistons in just a touch more. Probably come out a little bit as it was sitting. Yeah, the grease is still okay. There we go. Boy, everything's just so rusty. Hard time getting this lined up. There we go. Okay, we'll tighten them down and then get them torqued as well. So 74 foot-pounds on these. Okay, that's it. So we just have the impact gun set at its lowest setting. Once we get this on the ground, we will torque the wheels to 140 foot-pounds. So we've got the rotor off the other side now too, and it's just in as bad a shape. You know, really the pad contact area on here is 1 3/4 inches, let's say. But you know, we're barely just a hair over 1/2 inch is all we got left. So yeah, the pads just aren't going to do much on this side at all. Just all that rust. Not going to make for a very powerful stopping anyways. So again, the outside's not as bad, but it is still bad enough. And the pads are stuck in the caliper bracket again. We'll have a look at that next. Now this side's been stuck a little longer by the look of it. Let's see here. The friction material, there's a lot less left, and they are stuck in there. You know, they should just slide back and forth. So, look at the rust coming off of everything. This isn't normal. So again, we got to clean these all up. We'll do the exact same thing we did to the other side. Get everything back together. So what you're looking at there is the space between the bottom of the pad and the bracket. And that's how much rust I peeled out, because it was touching earlier and keeping the pad from moving. I've never had that happen on these before. I've always cleaned up the brackets underneath the clips here, and that's all I've ever done. I've never had it where this got so rusty that it kept the pads from moving. Just something else to look out for, I guess. Well, I'm guessing this is going to help my fuel economy a little too, because these brakes were sticking, that's for sure. This side here that was on the passenger side, you know, they're quite a bit thinner, the brake material that's left, than what was on the driver's side. So these were getting hung up for a while. And they were dragging too. So, you know, that won't hurt the fuel economy redoing this. And with the price of gas now, that's not a bad thing. We'll let it thaw out for a few minutes and we'll get started on the back. Just going to do the exact same thing. Replace the pads and rotors and clean all the rust and put everything back together. Now the back ones are pretty much the same. Not quite as stuck, but not moving the way they should. And the pins, that one moves, this one doesn't. We've got a wrench on it, we've got it to move a little bit, but we'll play with it for a little while, wiggle it back and forth. We'll get that pulled out, cleaned up, get some new grease in there, and it'll be okay. But this, again, super rusty. You know, the salt and stuff they put on the roads up here is just tears them up. Kind of envy you guys down south, not having to deal with all this shit. Well, we'll work at it for a while. So it's coming. Yeah, lots of rust on that. Well, take her over the wild wheel and get her cleaned up. I think the rear rotors were worse than the front. It looks like, I don't know, 1/2 inch of contact patch on these. Well, I guess that's lesson learned for us. The last brake job was what we called a budget brake job. We bought the cheapest rotors we could find online. And the pads, well, when I first got this vehicle a long time ago, we went and put some Duralast pads on it from AutoZone that are guaranteed for life. Well, we've only bought one set, and I don't know how many we've put on now. It's got to be 6 or 7. Even the ones we just put on today, they didn't cost us anything. We just brought the old ones back, and they keep giving us new ones. A little surprised at that, but hey, I'll take advantage of it. Anyways, I think next time we won't be buying the cheapest rotors we can find online. We'll buy something a little better. They're all coming out of China, but I guess there is a difference. Anyways, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. I do have a better video on my channel of doing a brake job on this, more of a complete video. Check it out. I'll put a link in the description.